Let's learn all about operators in C#. Operators are just as you imagine. They're the plus, minuses, multiply and divides of this world. We're going to use them on some variables. And now that you already know how to define a variable, this lesson should be pretty easy. Go ahead and open up csharppad.com and let's begin. Start by defining two integers. Let's have int my num is equal to 9. Let's have another int other num is equal to 12. Now let's look at operators. Let's say integer result is equal to my num plus other num. And what this does is grab my num and add other num to it and provide us with an integer result at the end. How do we know this has worked? Well, in C# we can send ourselves a little message by using console.writeLine, and then we can pass it over the item we want to output to our user. So let's try result and close brackets. Now this should write out the result to our console. And how do we access this in C#pad? Well, we simply click this Go button at the bottom right. When I click Go, it's going to add those numbers for me and print out this result, 21. Of course, we can do the same calculation by copying that code, repasting it in. We can do, let's try a multiply, which is the asterisk character. Let's click Go, and our result is now 108. Let's paste that in again and try to divide. So 9 divided by 12. We would expect 0.75 to come out of this. But we get 0. Now why is that? It's because an integer can only store a whole number. It cannot store decimals. And when you do calculations that have decimals in them, what the integer does is simply drop off the decimal. It doesn't care about it. So it'll just return the 0 part of 0.75. So when you're using operators, you need to be very, very aware of this phenomenon. And you need to be hyper familiar with what certain types of integer are capable of doing or not doing. So, how do we fix this particular problem? Well, let's copy that code back over with the division inside of it, and let's modify it into a double type and another double, and make our result a double. Then let's click Go, and we get access to the full decimal number that we expect of 0.75. So doubles are fine. You could also do this with float types. Now, what about strings? It turns out you can actually add strings together. So let's define some. Let's have string name is equal to Grant. Let's have string last name is equal to Klim. Then what we can do is we can say string full name is equal to name plus last name. Then let's print this out with our console write line as full name. Feel free to change these things or the strings that you've quoted according to your own name, but once you've done that, click Go, and your console will print out your full name. Now, of course, there's generally a space between first and last names, so let's fix this little error we have. Let's copy our code from last time, paste it in. Let me create some space so we can see. And what we can do here, where we define the last name, is we can add a space in. So we can say plus, double quote, space, double quote, plus last name. So in C#, we can define a variable on the fly. We don't have to give it a name, and if we don't give it a type, C# will try and infer its type. When you put things in double quotes, C# assumes it is a string. So this is simply taking a space character and inserting it between the two names. When I click Go, we now have my name with a space in between. So those are very basic operators in C#. There's a hidden one in here that I referred to in the last lesson, and it's this equals sign. It's called an assignment operator. We're making this side, last name, equal to the right side, Klim. So that is also known as an operator.